Give me a while, and then we will begin shortly. Okay, today we look into tutorial 10. A bit lengthy, this tutorial. Yes, you want to ask me something? No. No, yeah, okay, okay. Okay, so let's begin our today's class then. Okay, shall I begin? Until 不啦，我给他放我的东西做啊。Only two of you. 啊？no makan lah. Later we talk about it lah. See how. No lah, I think no lah. 没有吃饱。It's okay, okay. Okay, let's begin on today's class then. Okay, so for today's class, it's a bit lengthy because we look into two main components. The first one is called balance of payment, and the other one is called exchange rate. Now, as far as the syllabus is concerned, you should focus on exchange rate only. But the thing is this, it seems like nowadays should incorporate the questions on balance of payments into the exam as well. So therefore, you need to go through two parts, but you need to put more attention, more focus on the part two itself. Okay, so let's have a look into part one first. So I will go through quickly with you on the part one, balance of payment. So think about balance of payments like an accounting records. So when you talk about an accounting records for a firm, for a company, right? Basically, it records all the transactions between one firm and the rest of the firms, right? Same thing for balance of payment. It's an accounting record, but it's not on a firm basis, but on a country basis, in which it is an accounting records that records all the transaction between one country and the rest of the countries over the year. Okay, so I repeat, balance of payment is an accounting record that records all the transactions between one country with the rest of the countries over a year. Okay, so therefore, under balance of payment, we have three components. We have three types of account under balance of payment, which are current account, capital account, and financial account. Now, few things I want to go through with you quickly. So the first one, you have already known that this is about a record of all the transactions with the rest of the world over a year. And there are three accounts that we talk about over here. Okay. When we talk about balance of payment, we look into the flow of money, inflow and outflow of the money. So therefore, like for example, when we look into inflow of money, that means when the money is coming into our country, we say that, for example, we sell our exports. Okay, we sell our exports, therefore people pay us money, there is money coming in. So we call it as credit items. Okay, it creates credit items. On the other hand, when we buy things on imports, we pay, okay, for the import. So there will be money going out. So there'll be outflow of money. So this creates debit items. Okay, so now I would like to look into these three components. Now, first of all, I want you to understand this thing over here. Current account is always equals to the capital account plus financial account. So these two parts over here must both equal to each other. Okay, current account equals to the combination of the capital account and financial account. So therefore, nowadays, some of textbooks, right, they combine together the capital account with the financial account. So at the end of the day, I'm just showing that when you look into balance of payment, just like you do accounting, both must be balanced, right? Same thing over here. The current account and the financial account must both be balanced. Of course, is it possible to happen in reality? Maybe it is hard. So therefore, there could be some statistical discrepancy in which some goes unrecorded. So it's normal. But at least you know when you look at the balance of payment, these two components here must be equivalent to each other. So my focus over here will require you to understand what are the components or what are the details under the current account and financial account specifically. So when we look into current account over here, we have four sub-components under this account. So remember, under big umbrella, what we call it as the balance of payment, we have current account, capital account, and financial account. And let's look into current account first. So current account, we have four components. The first one is trade in goods. Trade in goods means I look into the export and import of tangible items. Okay, so I look into the difference between the export and imports of tangible items. Trade in services, I look into the difference between the export and imports of the services or the intangible items. Incomes over here, I'm referring to primary income. Primary income means the income that is generated by, let's say, factors of production. Like for example, rental, uh, uh, interest, okay, or like the dividends that you earn from your investment, okay, and also the salary that you earn from other countries, okay. So all these are under income, primary income, okay, and current transfer is under secondary income. Secondary income is like current transfer or we call as private remittance. So like for example, okay, you let me remittance. I think I spelled wrong. I spelled correct. I think it spelled something like remittance. I'm not sure whether it's one T or two T. I forgot already. But basically, that's the word remittance. Okay, so private remittance means that, for example, when you work in other countries, right? Okay, you want to send the money back home. So that's under this category, private remittance, or we call as current transfer. So these are the four uh four subcomponents under current account, in which we look into trade in goods, trade in services, primary income, and secondary income. So remember, there's a difference between primary income and secondary income actually. So primary income means we look into the income that's being generated by the factors of production. Like for example, this is why when you invest, let's say for example, when you invest in abroad, you earn dividends. The dividends will go under this category. Okay. When you rent, okay, when you rent out a land to to other people, okay, you earn the rental become to when you rent a land to other people, to foreigners, okay, the rental come into this category, okay. Or when you work in other countries, okay, you earn the wages or salary, the money will come under this category, okay. But secondary income, we talk about the secondary income that we talk about is a private remittance. That means that, like for example, you send the money back home. Like for example, you work in the UK and you send the money back home to Malaysia. So therefore, that's under this secondary income. Or like for example, foreigners who work in our country and send their money back home, also under this category. Okay. Now, the next one that I want to look into is financial account. Financial account looks into the records of the flow of money in and out of the country for the purpose of investment or as deposit in banks or related to any financial institutions. So most of the time we look into financial account is all about the flow of investment. And we have four components here as well. The first one is direct investment. We call as foreign direct investment, or we call as FDI, foreign direct investment. So like for example, when you were to let's say when foreigners come to our country to take over some buildings or to purchase some buildings, that falls under FDI. Or when you go to other countries to buy over some buildings, that also called as FDI. That's the first component of financial account. Second is portfolio investment. Portfolio investment means that the purchase and the sale of government bonds or the shares of the company, but that do not involve any legal control of the firm. So this is about the investments related assets like bonds or shares, okay, that you purchase from abroad. or other financial flows, like for example, sometimes some monies come in and out to the country just for the sake of taking advantage of the interest rate. Like for example, let's say other countries having high interest rates, so a lot of money flowing out to other countries. And the last one is reserve. Reserve basically talk about like gold or like other foreign exchange, foreign currency. Okay, so these are the components under financial account. So we have these four subcomponents under financial account. Okay, so these are things you need to know for the components. Now, moving on to the next part here is what are the causes of balance of payment deficits. Now, as I say, we'll talk about balance of payment. Okay, so when we talk about balance of payment, we are talking about the flow of money. Okay, so when we talk about balance of payments, okay, we talk about the flow of money in which we hope that we can achieve money inflow equals to money outflow. Okay, but this is impossible. So therefore, sometimes it can result in balance of payment deficit or balance of payment surplus. So when balance of deficit happens, that means what? That means that you have more money outflow as compared to money inflow. On the other hand, when you have balance of payment surplus, means you have more money inflow as compared to money outflow. Okay, so we can't say that which one is better or which one is worse. Okay, we can't say that. Okay, it depends on the country situations. So it's not to say that this one is balance of deficit is worse or balance of payment is balance of payment surplus is better. No, we can't say that. Okay, so it depends on the country situations. Like for a country that have already been experiencing deficit, like like US, America, they have been experiencing balance of payment deficit consecutively. So this is why they do not want deficit anymore. But until now, they stay in deficit. So this is why they go and check out, which country they trade the most until the extent where they always have deficit. And they found it's China. They bought a lot of imports from China. This is why it's sparked up the trade war between the US and the China. So that's one of the reasons. They found that the trade deficit is too much. That means they import too much from the China. So they want to stop relying on China. So therefore, that's their initiative, their intention to actually start the trade war. Okay. So if a country has been having deficit, it's not a good thing. Okay. Same thing here. If a country keep having surplus, it's not a good thing as well. That means you do not buy any imports. That means the standard of living of the people may not be improved. You don't have so much of variety of choices. Okay, so we can't say which one is good or which one is bad. But usually, when the country is having deficit, it's more of a concern because you keep having money outflow. Like for example, America. Okay, so therefore we look into balance of payment deficit. We need to find out what's the reason that caused the balance of payment deficit. So therefore, these are some of the examples. Now, the causes of balance of payment deficit could be good, okay, and could be bad. It depends. If it's due to the good reason, then it's okay, it's good. But if it's due to the bad reason, then it will be a concern. Like for example, if today we talk about balance of payment deficit, that means a lot of money flowing out from the country. Like for example, it could be because they keep buying imports. Okay, but what if they buy imports of raw materials for the sake of production? That is a good thing, right? So it depends. So like for example, we look to causes of balance of payment deficit. If it's because of a growing domestic economy, in which causes the local producers to purchase the imports or the raw materials abroad, okay, that is acceptable. Second, a rise in domestic income, maybe because the locals people become richer and therefore they can afford to buy more things from abroad or to invest abroad. That's okay as well. That's a good sign. A rise in exchange rate means appreciation. Your currency has appreciated. That means your currency becomes stronger, causing you to be able to go and buy more of the imports from other countries. That's okay as well. Okay, it's all temporarily. But if it's because of structural problems, that means, like for example, because of the poor quality of your own local goods and services, and therefore causing no one want to buy the local exports, no one wants to buy the local products, then it becomes a concern. Okay, so therefore, it depends on what are the causes. So if it's a structural problems, then it should be more of a concern. Okay, so that's the balance of payment parts you need to know. And now let's have a look into the part two, which is our focus on exchange rate. So the first thing you need to know about exchange rate is the definition itself. The definition of exchange rate means the price of, okay, so I can explain, I can write one easier for you. The price of one currency in terms of another currency. That means how much of the local ringgit Malaysia do I need to buy one foreign currency? So the price of one currency in terms of another currency. That's the meaning of exchange rate itself. So few terms you're going to come across. The first one is called appreciation and second one is called depreciation. Appreciation means there's an increase in the exchange rate or the international value of a currency caused by what? Caused by market forces. That means that your currency has appreciated. That means your international value of your currency has become stronger. Okay, that means that you will just need to use less of your local money to purchase more of the foreign currency. Bear in mind with all the words that I use now, because we're going to put this all into analysis later on. Okay, vice versa, when we talk about depreciation, that means we look into the decrease in the exchange rate or the international value of a currency caused by market forces. Remember, when we talk about appreciation and depreciation, these two scenarios happen because of market forces. No one control it, mainly because of the demand and supply of the currency itself, causing the currency to be either appreciated or depreciated. Why? Because I have to let you know that we have other terms as well. We have revaluation and devaluation. Okay. So when we talk about revaluation, that means that I'm saying that there's an increase in the international value of currency, but not caused by market forces, caused by what? Caused by government intervention. Okay, caused by government intervention. Similarly, when we talk about devaluation, that means there's a fall in the international value of the currency, not caused by market forces, but caused by government intervention. So therefore, the words means differently, although, to some extent, they are quite related. One is caused by market forces, one is caused by government intervention. Okay. So four different terms that you may want to pay attention to. Now, how do we interpret our exchange rate? So we will use direct quotation. Direct quotation means I want to know how much of ringgit Malaysia do I need to buy one foreign currency. So ringgit per euro. So we use this direct quotation. That means how much of ringgit Malaysia do I need to buy one euro dollars. So you see it's a bit reverse. Reverse. Okay, to understand our exchange rate, the first thing we need to know is to understand the foreign exchange market. So we talk about foreign exchange market is a market in which all the national currency are exchanged for one another. So foreign exchange rate is like a middle person in which it helps to facilitate the purchase of goods and services from another country, either the exports and imports, and also to allow people to buy assets or set up businesses abroad. Now, we are going to use a very simple way to derive all the answers that we're going to do for today's class, which is this kind of mind map. So I will show you how to do in a while. Okay, now before we look into these simple tips here, I just want you to remember what are the determinants, okay, that cause people to demand or supply of foreign currency. So I can summarize everything into these three terms in which we call as trade flow, capital flow, and speculative flow. So these are the three main reasons why people demand and supply of foreign currency. So when you want to interpret or when you want to analyze, you just link it everything into these three categories, then things are correct already. Okay, so therefore I want you to pay attention to these three terms first. Okay, so now let's have a look into the scenario. Okay, so example, how this foreign exchange rate works. Okay, so example, we have Malaysia. Okay, and we have Forex market here. And we have another country, like for example, US. Okay, so let's say let's say Malaysia would like to buy imports from US. Excuse me. Okay, so what happened is Malaysia will have to supply ringgit Malaysia to the forex in order to demand for US dollars. Okay, why? To purchase imports from US. On the other hand, if US were to purchase exports from Malaysia, okay, that means they want to buy our local exports, they will have to supply US dollars in order to demand for our currency to be able to buy our local exports. Demand MYR. Okay. Now at the end of the day, when you want to draw all these things into the diagram, we focus on this part over here. We draw it from the foreign perspective. So if I were to draw it, let's say I want to draw to show the situation in which we buy the imports from US, I will draw the demand for USD increases. If I want to show people purchase our local exports from Malaysia, I will show the supply of USD in a graph. Okay, and every time when you link it about imports and exports, we call it as trade flow. Faham? Okay. Now I use another example. Okay. Again, we look into Malaysia and then forex market and US. Okay, so let's say Malaysia feel that US interest rate is higher. US interest rate is higher. So where do you want to put your money? You want to put your money in US banks, right? So you will supply ringgit Malaysia to demand US dollar. Why? Because you want to save money in banks. So of course you have to demand for their currency. Vice versa, if today Malaysia interest rate is higher, then US will have to supply the US dollars in order to demand for ringgit Malaysia to put their money in our bank. So when you were to draw which part that you show, you will show this part from the foreign perspective. Okay, so if today you want to show that the US interest rate is higher, it will show the demand of USD is higher. If you want to show Malaysia interest rate is higher, then you will show the supply of USD increases. Okay, so you will show it on the diagram, the shift of the graph. Now, so everything when we talk about interest rate, we call as capital flow. Okay, so I use two scenarios. Same thing for speculative flow. If you feel that US dollars is going to appreciate, so what happen is you will demand more of US dollars. Okay, if let's say US feel that Malaysia ringgit is going to appreciate, then what happen is they will supply US dollars to demand for ringgit Malaysia. Okay, good. Okay, now, so you can see that trade flow is all about import and exports, capital flow is about interest rate, and speculative flow is about the expectations of the future exchange rate. Hope that's very clear for you. It will be very helpful for you later on. Now, we are going to show the shift of the graph later on with the use of questions. Now, last part over here is about some theories. That we have three different types of exchange rate. So we have floating exchange rate, fixed exchange rate, and managed float. Okay, so as far as the syllabus is concerned, we look into the first two. The last one, you will look into it in the intermediate Macroeconomics. Now, when we talk about floating exchange rate, it's a type of exchange rate that is basically determined by the market forces of the demand and supply of the currency without any government intervention. That means we leave it for the market to adjust the exchange rate by itself. So everything is determined by market forces, okay, without any government control, okay, without government intervention. Okay, so what the good thing about this is that everything will adjust automatically. Okay, so therefore there's no need for the central bank to purposely keep the reserve. Hello. Okay, but there are some disadvantages, like because all these right will result in a lot of instability. Okay, because why? Because your currency could be either appreciated too much or depreciated too much. Okay, so therefore that's the advantages and disadvantages of floating. Okay, the next one is fixed exchange rate system. Okay, so we talk about fixed exchange rate system, right? Here we talk about is an exchange rate that is set by government, okay, and it will be maintained by central bank with the use of reserve. That means if I say okay, 1 US dollars equals to 4 ringgit Malaysia, then that means they have to figure their ways out in order to ensure the exchange rate maintained at the rate. So every time when it is either appreciated or depreciated, government will do something to bring the exchange rate back to the targeted value, which is 1 US dollars equals to 4 ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so like for example, if let's say the currency is being if let's say ringgit Malaysia is being oversupplied to other country, we keep buying imports, then the central bank or the government will have to use foreign currency to buy it back, our ringgit Malaysia, okay, to bring back our value, to bring back the exchange rate. Okay, or like for example, if let's say our ringgit Malaysia is being over demanded, okay, people keep demanding our currency until our currency become over appreciated, then what happen is central bank will have to create the supply of ringgit Malaysia to supply it to the people so that our currency will not be over appreciated. So do you realize that when our currency is being over depreciated, when there are too much of money flowing to other country, okay, government will use foreign currency to buy back our local currency. Okay, when our local currency is being over demanded, okay, then the government will create the supply of local currency to give it to the people so that we will ensure that there will be no excessive or there will be no appreciation or depreciation happens over here, because we want to maintain at the targeted value in which one US dollars equals to 4 ringgit Malaysia. It is good, it provides certainty, but the thing is, the bad thing is it involves an opportunity cost, because all this money could have been used for better purposes instead of adjusting for the exchange rate. And also, it is risky for the government in which they might run out of the reserve. Okay, because we talk about all the foreign currencies, right? It's all about reserve. So they're using all the foreign currency to actually play with the exchange rate, in which there's a risk. So therefore, there's a risk in which they may run out of the reserve. Now, for the managed float is a bit similar to these two, is a combination of both, in which it allows the exchange rate to move but within the boundary. So that means the exchange rate can go appreciate or depreciate, up and down, but within the boundary. It cannot go beyond the boundary. If it goes beyond the upper limit or the lower limit, then they will do something. If not, if it's within the boundary, then it's okay. We leave it to it. We leave it to the market to adjust the exchange rate by itself. Okay, so these are the notes you need to know for the exchange rate. I know it's lengthy, right? It's quite a lot. Okay, so now let's have a look into tutorial questions. The first one, define exchange rate using direct quote and explain fixed exchange rate and flexible exchange rate. So this one, I believe you can get the answers. So first of all, define exchange rate using direct quote. So that means this is why I mentioned we interpret, okay, our currency in the form of direct quotation. Okay, and what are the definitions of the floating and fixed? You can get it over here. Okay, so the first one is not too important. Okay, question number 2. Okay, so how do we draw the graph? Okay, so first of all, when we were to draw the graph, okay, so it will be like this. Now, before you look into the questions, let me show you. So we have y-axis and x-axis. Okay, this is my origin. Now, let's say if I write ringgit Malaysia per US dollars, what do I mean? That means that I'm looking into how much ringgit Malaysia do I need to buy 1 US dollars. You see, per USD, that means per single US dollars, per, for each. The word per means for each. So here I'm saying how much ringgit Malaysia do I need for 1 US dollars. And then, see, this is a tips. See the words at the behind here. This is USD, right? So that means here is about the quantity of USD. Okay, now since my y-axis is about USD, here is also about USD. What about my demand and supply? Memang pun is still in USD. So this is the demand for US dollars, and this is supply for US dollars. So once it intersect, this is the equilibrium, in which, for example, initially is 4 ringgit Malaysia to buy 1 US dollars at this quantity. Okay, now let's say I want to interpret one of the answers just now. I want to show we keep buying imports. So I want to show this demand for US dollars increases. Macam mana? Okay, so I have to show the demand for USD increases. So demand for USD will shift rightwards like this. So demand for US dollar increases. Okay, so therefore, where's my new equilibrium? Here. Now, what can you see? Do you realize that now I need to use more money to buy 1 US dollars? Now I have to use 4 ringgit 50 cent to buy 1 US dollars. What do we mean? Okay, that means ringgit Malaysia depreciates. Okay, depreciates. You see why? Because you need to use more ringgit Malaysia to buy 1 US dollars. So more MYR is needed to buy 1 USD. At the same time, what happened to US dollars? US dollars appreciates. Okay. Why? Because now US people with their 1 US dollars, they can get 4 ringgit 50 cent already. Last time they get 4 ringgit, now they get 4 ringgit 50 cent. So less US dollars is needed to buy 1 ringgit Malaysia. This is the one that you need to write in your analysis. Okay, so now we see the question that you can do already one. Very easy already. Okay, now let's see the questions. Okay, question number 2. Okay, we see the question. Question A, what is the equilibrium exchange rate in the above diagram? What does it mean? Ringgit Malaysia per pounds. So therefore, this one is about exchange rate per pound. Okay, question B. What is the horizontal axis refers to? Whatever at the back. Here. So it's pound. So if both about pounds, what about the demand and supply? It's all about pounds. So it's about interpretation for pounds market. Okay. Question number 3. Outline the factors which would cause a shift of the demand and supply of foreign exchange rate. So this one, what will cause demand for foreign exchange rate or what will cause the supply of exchange rate to increase? You use this one over here. Basically, it's about trade flow, capital flow, and speculative flow for demand and for supply. Trade flow, capital flow, and speculative flow. You explain by yourself. Okay, this one. So you look into this table, this diagram. you explain like what causes the demand for foreign currency to increase. Okay, you can talk about import and export that's under trade flow. Or vice versa, what causes the supply of the foreign currency to increase? Again, you link it to the demand for exports and imports. Like for example, they want to buy our local products. So therefore, the demand for exports increases. They will have to supply their own currency to demand for our own currency to buy our goods. So that under trade flow. So basically, you are putting all the things that we have drawn just now into the sentences. Okay, so this table here is the answers. So when you go back and revise, make sure you try to think how do you write the answers. Things might look easy for you right now because we are drawing everything in mind map. But when you want to put all these things in sentences, it might be a bit hard. Unless you draw a table and put inside a table. Okay? Or you write short form. Okay. Now, question 4 is the one that I want you to think because I didn't put the answers over here. Question 4. Okay. Assuming a floating exchange rate system using demand and supply curve analysis, show how the exchange rate for ringgit is determined when, let's say, you have these three situations. Okay, there is an increase in export of palm oil from Malaysia to Japan. Increase in export of palm oil from Malaysia to Japan. How's the answers looks like? Increase in exports of palm oil from Malaysia to Japan. Okay, try to think how to do. Okay, increase in export from Malaysia to Japan. So you use the mind map method first. Okay, so we draw. Now we have Malaysia. We have Forex market. And we have Japan. Okay, that means Japan buy our products, correct or not? Okay, so therefore Japan buy our product. So that means what? Japan has to supply their yen to demand ringgit Malaysia. Okay, because we are selling exports, what? Increase in export through Japan. So that means we are selling our exports. That means Japanese buying Malaysian exports. So which one that you need to draw? Supply of yen. So can we draw it together? How do we draw? So y-axis, x-axis, origin. Okay. So now we want to draw the yen's market. Okay. So we see how much ringgit Malaysia do I need to buy 1 yen. Okay, so whatever the back, I will draw here quantity of yen. Okay. So this is the demand for yen and this is a supply for yen. Okay, and this is the equilibrium. Let's give any values here. Let's say 2 ringgit for 1 yen. Okay, and this is a quantity. So supply of yen increases. What's the answers? Like this. Supply shift rightwards. So supply of yen increases. Okay, through E1 over here. In which now the ringgit Malaysia becomes, let's say, 150. So you use less ringgit Malaysia to buy 1 yen now already. So that means what? Conclusion. Ringgit Malaysia or MYR. Ringgit Malaysia means MYR. MYR appreciates. That means what? That means less MYR is needed to buy 1 yen. Okay, or vice versa. or vice versa, which is yen depreciates. Okay, more yen is needed to buy 1 ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so that's the answers for this one. Question A. So, yeah. Try and do question B and C first. So question B is an Australian company brings in 20 Aussie million to set up a factory building gadgets in Malaysia. And question C is Bank Negara Malaysia announced a cut in interest rate. Looking forward to your answers. Try and see. To mirror this one and try and do. Try and draw the graph, see if you can get it correctly or not. I've got activities one for today's class. 没有带笔来啊，他没有带笔来，他是 okay, let's continue. Okay, so for second question, Australian company bring the money in to Malaysia to open a factory. So macam mana? Okay, so we have Malaysia. Okay, and then Forex. And then we have Australia. Okay, Australia want to set the company in Malaysia, ma. Okay, so Australia will have to bring the Australian money. So they supply Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar, how to write the short form? Just put Aussie dollar. Okay, to demand ringgit Malaysia because they want to open the company in Malaysia. So which one we draw? This one, oh. So the answer will be the same like just now. Okay, so just draw it quickly here. Okay, RM ringgit Malaysia per Aussie dollar. C dollar. Okay. Okay, here is the quantity of Aussie dollars. Okay, and then so this is the demand for Aussie dollar and the supply of Aussie dollars. Okay, so you draw the supply of Aussie dollars increases. So you label everything. Okay, point E quantity. Let's say this is 3 ringgit Aussie dollars. Now supply curve of Aussie dollar increases. Okay, causing the supply curve to go down. Comes, for example, 2 ringgit. Okay, same thing. Ringgit Malaysia appreciates and Aussie dollar depreciates. Okay, the next one. Bank Negara Malaysia announced a cut in the interest rate. Okay. So now Bank Negara Malaysia announced cut in interest rate. Okay, so we have Malaysia. Okay, we have Forex. And we have, let's say, other country, let's say US dollars, US. Okay, see, this one, you see, the best answer is we always interpret from the foreign side, from the foreign perspective. Just now the answer that you give me is on our perspective because you talk about Ringgit Malaysia. But the best answer still, but it's not wrong, it's still correct anyway. The best answer is I want to interpret the foreign one. So that means now Malaysians has a cut in interest rate. Do you still want to save money in Malaysia? No, you want to save money in other countries, right? So therefore, Malaysia will supply Ringgit Malaysia to demand for other currencies. For example, we want to put money in US banks. Okay, to demand for US dollars. Okay, so therefore, by right, the most accurate answer is I want to show the demand for foreign currency increases. Okay, I want to show that demand for the foreign currency increases. This is what we call as capital flow lah. Okay, capital flow of money. Okay, demand for US dollars increases. So if I were to draw, how I draw like this. The origin Ringgit Malaysia / US dollars. Okay, again, this is quantity of US dollars. Why must I write this? Because I want to interpret US dollars market, ma. So I draw like this. So, okay, and then this is the demand for US dollars, and this is the supply of US dollars. Okay, and then once it intersects, okay, this is, for example, initially is 4 ringgit per US dollars at this quantity. Now, when we demand US dollars increases, okay, what happened is the equilibrium is here and the quantity is here. So, 5 ringgit per US dollars. So that means Ringgit Malaysia depreciates. Okay, but US dollars appreciates. Okay, explain. Okay, Ken? So yours one, your answer is correct, but how do you draw the graph? That's another question. Because your quotation, you think, try and draw it out. US dollars per Ringgit Malaysia. Yeah, yeah. So make sure you know how to put the quotation, no? But to be more exact, we always interpret the foreign side. Okay, very good. Okay. Hey, make sure you all got the answers, Okay, take a photo first. Let's wait for them for a while. Okay, let's continue. Okay, question 5, exam type questions. Okay, so you can read through that quickly because that article is not so helpful. We can see the question straight away. Assume a system of floating exchange rate between Malaysia and its main trading partners. Okay, so we want to see whether the Ringgit Malaysia appreciate or depreciate. Malaysian products are more fashionable to the Europeans. So assume, now remember in exam they might give you assumption. Assume exchange rate is at 3.55 to a euro. Malaysian products are fashionable to Europeans means what? Means Europeans will want to buy our products. Okay, so how the graph looks like. Okay, so again, you can draw it simple first. Okay, see, we draw it easy one. Okay, so we have Malaysia. Every time I always draw this, it will help. Malaysia, Forex, okay, and European countries, EU. So they want to buy our products because our products are so fashionable. Okay, so therefore, they supply euro to demand MYR. So which one I draw? So this one. Okay. Okay, let's see the answers. It looks easy. Make sure you know how to draw in exam. Okay, RM per euro, whatever at the back is quantity of euro. So demand of euro and the supply of euro. You will never get it wrong if you remember this technique. Easy, right? Yeah, you learn something today. Okay, so we start from point A over here as 3.55 at this quantity. Okay, so therefore what happened is it shift rightwards the supply curve. So there's a surplus that bring it to point C. So at the end, we just need to use 3.5 to buy 1 euro. Okay, so I say the fact that Malaysian products are more fashionable will increase the supply of euros to demand for our exports. So therefore, this causes a rightward shift of the supply curve for euros and leading to a surplus that brings us to point C. So at the end, okay, it leads to a fall in the Ringgit Malaysia price per euro. That means our Ringgit Malaysia has appreciated. Okay, so this is the depreciation of euros, or we can call it as appreciation of Ringgit Malaysia. So that's the answer for question A. Make sure you read through it. Today's you've got a lot of reading to do. Okay, today's a bit lengthy. So after today's class, you need to read through it, and then I have prepared some additional questions for you to think about, so that when it comes to our end call, we can discuss. Okay, question B. Malaysia unilaterally reduced tariff. Okay, we reduce the protectionisms on Japanese products. Wow, that means you buy Japanese products, no need to pay tax really. Okay, so first assume if this starting rate. Remember, if they give you assumption, you must draw it into your diagram. So you will buy a lot of Japanese products. So you see, for now, the questions that I have discussed is all floating exchange rate. We haven't included the government intervention yet. Later on, next question that we have. Okay, so we have Malaysia. Okay. And then we have Forex. And we have Japanese. Okay, Japan. Okay. So we will buy a lot of Japanese products. So we will supply Ringgit Malaysia to demand Japanese yen. So which one we draw? We draw this one. Demand yen. Okay. So this is our answers. Our M per 100 yen. Because yen we start with 100 one. Okay, so quantity of yen, then demand for yen and supply of yen. So start with point A. Okay. Now what happened is the demand curve will shift rightwards to point B. Okay, because we need to demand for more yen. Why? Because we want to buy their products. So there's a shortage which will push up the price to point C. What happened? More Ringgit Malaysia that I need to buy 100 yen. So depreciation of Ringgit Malaysia, but there will be appreciation of yen. Okay, next question, question 6. Okay, you read through it first, and then again, you see the questions at the bottom. Okay, US imports more from China. Okay, US imports more from China. Assume that US practice a floating exchange rate. Okay, and the US per yuan exchange rate is at this initially. US import more from China. So what you draw here? Demand for yuan. US import more from China. Okay, so demand for yuan. Why? Because US, okay, Forex, China. So US supply US dollar to demand yuan. Okay, so that's the answer. So demand will shift rightwards. So what points you need to write? These are the points that I've written over here for you. Okay, so at the end, you must have the outcomes. Yuan appreciates, US depreciates. USD supply 增加. Actually, not to say wrong, but just not so accurate lor. So I will still give you marks lah. 因为我们画都是画 foreign perspective，那一 side 的因为你画我们这一 side 的话，你的那个 quotation 就不一样了，明白吗？我们要 quotation 是这样的 quotation，我们 follow 刚才我们学那个 quotation 嘛。
其实会有 situation of 就是 demand 的 supply decrease
两个一起 shift decrease
就是我的 demand of
会就是分开啦，就是说会不会有 situation result in decrease in demand 会一定会有，然后会不会有 situation result in reduction in supply 也是会有的。
因为刚刚收发看那题目，
对，它还是会有。可是如果两个加在一起的，就应该那个就比较少，就比较混乱一点了。But 你分开一定有，一定还是会有的。所以该讲的话，第一个是把 reduction in demand，right？可能比如说你的那个我们不要那个国家 currency 啊，所以我们可能 demand less possible 的 possible。Okay, so now what happened is right, this yuan is appreciated. Okay, and US depreciates. Okay, now let's see question B. Okay, so explain the impact of more US imports on the US dollar if the Federal Reserve, the central bank, decides to fix the US dollar at 15.6 per 100 yuan. That means we want to maintain it at 15.6. Now US has already depreciated. Now the US residents have to use 16 US dollars to buy 100 yuan. No, the government does not want. They want to bring back to 15.6. Now the US dollar has already depreciated, so they want to bring it back. Okay, why is that depreciated? Because too much of outflow of the US dollars to demand for foreign currency. So what do you think the federal government should do? Wait, first, we talk, no need to talk about import and export. We just influence from the currency. Okay, so you see, this one, we end up at point C already, right? Okay, so now the last point is at point C. Okay, so that means that they are too much of the demand for yuan. So you see, here in this scenario, US people supply too much of US dollars to demand for yuan. So what government can do is they can increase what? No. Just change from the diagram only. So what government will do is that they can use their reserve. They can take out the yuan that they have and supply it to buy back the US dollars. So therefore, the graph is just as simple as I increase the supply of yuan to the right. Therefore, it will bring back to the initial point. Okay, so this is new supply of yuan. Shift rightward, at the end it comes back to here. So from point C, move to point D over here, which is surplus, and then move to point E over here. So it backs to 15.6, but more yuan here. Okay, so because they keep demanding for yuan, so government want to buy back the USDs. So how they buy back the USDs? They supply the yuan. Okay, so therefore, this is how the answers looks like. Okay, so this scenario, because we know that there is excessive supply of US dollars. Okay, so government want to buy back the US dollars. Okay, how they buy back the US dollars? Because here they keep demanding for yuan, right? They keep demanding for yuan, so they supply yuan. Okay, can. So overall, we can make some conclusion as well. I can write, let's say now when the local currency is, let's say, uh over depreciated. Okay, shh. When the local currency is over depreciated, what government will do? So what the Fed will do? What the government will do? Government will buy back local currency. How they buy back local currency? Using the foreign currency. Okay, like for example here, they want to buy back US dollars. So how they buy back US dollars? They use yuan. Yes, correct. When the currency is over appreciated, how? They will supply local currency. Okay? Okay, so now these are the answers for the question B. So in which they want to buy back the US dollars by selling yuan. Okay, sorry. So this is important. Okay, next one. Okay, so this is the focus here, to sell yuan and to buy back US dollars. Okay. Okay, question 7. Countries experiencing inflation will always have a balance of payment problem. Explain why. Okay, what we call as the balance of payment problems. So balance of payment problem, it could be means deficit or surplus. Balance of payment deficit or surplus. Excessive deficit or excessive surplus. Now, since we say the country keep having inflation, okay, which problem it will result? Okay, maybe it will result in deficit. Why? Because your products will become very expensive for people to buy. So very hard for you to sell exports. Okay, so therefore it could result in deficit. So that means there will be a lot of money outflow as compared to money inflow. Okay, so inflation makes the export prices uncompetitive, okay, and import prices more attractive because your local products too expensive already. So there will be reduced demand for exports and increased demand for imports that will cause deficit. Okay, trade balance will worsen. That means deficit. And also confidence in the economy will be reduced with an impact on FDI, and there will be more outflow of the money from the financial account as well, because people do not want to invest in the country anymore. Okay, question 8. Explain how exchange rate policy can be used to increase the demand for the exports and decrease the demand for imports. So how? Don't see the answers first. This one is very direct, because this one, I think the question is a bit weird as well. Okay, so how? If you want to increase the exports and decrease imports, if you are the government, should you revalue your currency or devalue the currency? You devalue, because that will make your product more cheaper. Very good. A lot of people confused already. So you see, so government will have to devalue. Okay, why? Because once you devalue, products will become cheaper. Okay, so exports can increase. Same thing here. When you want to reduce imports, you also go and devalue. Why? Because when you devalue, okay, your export cheaper, but your imports become expensive because your international value of your currency become lower already. The less purchasing power abroad. Okay, so therefore, exports become cheaper. Okay, but the thing is, imports will become expensive. So imports will decrease. So both of the solution is to devalue. Okay, so these are things I want to cover for today's class. Now, there's some things I want you to do when you have time, since you're finished all the assignments already, right? Okay, have a look into this additional questions part. These are the real exam questions that you'll come across. Okay, now I have provided the answers for the first three questions, but you can see question 4 and 5 are not being provided yet. So try to think about it when you have time. These are the questions you come across in your section A. Okay, so try to take some time and think about the answers. And especially you see question 1 is a very good question. Why a central bank can agree to its currency to fall indefinitely? Agree the currency to fall indefinitely means what? To depreciate. Okay, but it cannot agree to its currency to rise indefinitely. Why? Very weird. Like Malaysia. Like, you know, when our currency keep depreciated, our government macam still okay one. Why? What's the reason they provide? Cheaper exports, right? But actually, there's not a very good reason as well. So we'll talk more about that when it comes to our revision. Okay, so therefore, the reason why they allow the currency to continue to depreciate is because when the currency depreciate, it's actually good for exports. So therefore, this result in cheaper exports that increase the competitiveness of your products. So this could actually improve the balance of payments. Okay, so therefore, this is the rationale for them to allow the currency to depreciate forever. Okay, and also if you want to revalue your currency to make your currency to be appreciated, it's not easy as well because it requires a lot of foreign currency reserve. So you need to have a lot of reserve to actually create to for example to buy back your local currency to revalue it. So it's not cheap. So therefore, these are the main two rationale. Okay, these are the main two rationales. So the first one is here, the second one is here. So these are the two main rationales why a central bank, a government can allow the currency to depreciate forever, but they cannot allow the currency to appreciate forever. Okay, so then these are two rationales. But the thing is this, it depends on the situations one. Like for example, just now the question that I brought up, you know, like our currency keeps depreciated from time to time, right? Until it's like start to worry already, right? You see our ringgit Malaysia to Sing dollars is like getting the worst already. But you see, every time, right, when it comes to news, right, the government will say it's normal, it's okay, you know, it's good because it helps our exports. But the thing is this, you have to have a look into what kind of products we're exporting. The products that we're exporting, right, are not the high values one because we are only supplying those semicons or like those what we call as the manufacturing items or like part of the components only. It's not like we are not supplying something that's of a high value. So if you're exporting something that's of a high value, then it's okay, it's good. It will actually generates a lot of revenue for you. But the thing is, we are only supplying those components, those small spare parts only. So therefore, it is not so convincing and it's actually quite worrying because who are our main trading partners? China. And China not doing good as well currently. So therefore, when China is not doing good, we also get affected. So again, this is why when we see our currency getting more and more depreciated, we are getting worried. Even me myself getting worried as well. I will start thinking whether should I go to other countries to work or not. So therefore, that's why we have all these concerns. Okay, so that's the question 1. So if you have time, have a look into question 2 to 5. These are the questions you will come across in your exams. Okay, and yeah, that's all I want to cover for today's class.